Willa Zhen is a professor at the Culinary Institute of America. Her classes examine the ways in which food gives meaning to and shapes our lives. Welcome to our show. We just saw the story about the spice cumin in Shenyang. How do the different spices and ingredients really tell the story of specific regions in China?
Oh, thanks for having me. So spices are a really interesting story because it's not just about the seasoning and the flavor of the food, but they talk about trade, about economics, about politics, and there's all sorts of spices from China that are used in Chinese cuisine today that don't originally come from China. Things like chili peppers, peppercorns, and cloves and cumin, for instance, and those all each have their own histories of politics, wars, conflict, trade, exchange, and of course, happy bellies as well.
Many of us have heard or experienced some of the traditional 8 Chinese cuisines, like the spicy food in Sichuan, sweet or sour foods in other areas, dumplings, seafood. Describe the regional differences and the tastes that go along with that across the country.
Well, China's a huge country, and everybody who's in China says that. And food is really a way of really understanding just how big and diverse the country is. So the different regional styles of cuisine are really influenced first and foremost by what's native to that area. So areas that are closer to the sea, for instance, Cantonese cuisine uses a lot of seafood because that's what's there. If you have colder climates, you have vegetables and ingredients that are native to that. For instance, if you look at northern Chinese food, you see a lot more of ingredients like potatoes, which can manage cold climates, or other crops that are similar. So food tells a story of the climate, and then it also tells a story, going back to the spices, of trade, that other ingredients also came in and started influencing the different styles based off of what the history in that region was.
You talk about the history, but looking at what you see today, do you think there's been any foreign influence on Chinese cuisine, or perhaps the other way around, Chinese influence on other cuisines?
Oh, absolutely, in both directions. So first, about foreign influences in Chinese cuisine, presence of things like cumin and spices that weren't originally from China but entered through trade certainly are evidence of it. So chili peppers, peppercorns, cumin, cloves, essential spices to Chinese cooking are a certain example. But also more modern, people have adopted things into Chinese cuisine that weren't originally from China. For instance, foie gras and truffles are starting to show up on certain luxury Chinese menus. And those are ingredients that we more associate with France or Italy, with foie gras, duck liver from France, or truffles from Italy. But also the other way around. Chinese cuisine is global. There are Chinese restaurants pretty much everywhere on the planet. I've met friends and colleagues from all over the world, and if they're from whatever part of the world and they find out that I study Chinese cuisine, they're often very happy to tell me about, I know this great Chinese restaurant here or there, and I've had restaurants named in places as far spread as Sudan, Israel, Indonesia, Peru, and the list goes on and on. Everybody has something to say about Chinese food, and it's not just stuff they learn from TV, it's stuff that they've experienced because there's a Chinese restaurant they like to go to eat at with their family and friends.
Willa Zhen, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your insight.
Thank you for having me.